So I've been thinking about the dangers of having attachments and desires as to how that pertains to our magical practice. And what triggered this reflection was when I decided that I wanted to clear out my tarot cupboard and get rid of the decks that I hadn't used for a while. But when I opened the cupboard and I was dragging them all out, I felt so uncomfortable at letting these decks go, even though I haven't used them for probably over a couple of years, some of them. And it got me thinking about how we hold on to things and the struggle that this can leave us with. So let's think about attachments as they pertain to magic and how they might get in the way. So the first thing I was thinking about was that when we desire something really strongly, maybe even if we're kind of obsessing over it, that might create an interference with us getting the desired result in the first place. If, for instance, we create a sigil for a specific desire, if it's something we might feel pretty desperate about getting, are our fears around not getting that thing going to interfere with the magic working? I think it was Alan Chapman who talked about when you create a sigil, if your desire is I hope for something, you are sigilizing that you're hoping for it. You're not sigilizing for actually having that thing. And also that if you then start to worry about what if I don't get this thing, that might be the intent that you're putting out into the cosmos. You're worrying about not getting this thing rather than you're putting out there that you already have it. And I guess this is where we try and let go of that lust for result. Once we've put it out there, we let go and let it be whatever's going to happen. And I guess it's similar to life generally, isn't it? There is only so much we can do, and then we have to sort of hand off and see what happens. Like preparing for an essay or an exam or an interview, we can prepare to the nth degree, and then maybe you might get a question that comes up in either scenario and it totally throws you off. And that's not necessarily your fault, but all you can do is what you can do, and then you have to leave it. You have to hand it over and see what happens. Another aspect of attachment or desire is that it might reinforce a sense of lack. It might emphasize what we don't have rather than what we do have. If we approach magic for something that we want really quite desperately, and I don't use that in a derogatory way, but we really need something to happen, we're emphasizing what we don't have. And I don't have any evidence for this. It's just my own personal hunch, if you like. But I do feel that going into a magical working with that energy in particular may not necessarily help the magic. I'm not saying that all my magic works, but I find that when I go into the magic and I do it for something that, you know what, if it doesn't work out, it's not the end of the world. It's something I would like, but I'm not going to necessarily suffer if I don't get it. That for me is the best mindset for me to go into a magical working. Whereas if I'm going in with, I really need this, otherwise I don't know what I'm going to do, I just wonder how that might affect the result or what's being put out into the cosmos. So the next aspect of attachment and desire is something that I've noticed about myself, is that when we are really focused on a specific outcome, the danger with that is that we close ourselves down to other possibilities, other outcomes, or other ways that the outcome can manifest. I know myself that when I've sigilized for something or I've done a magical working, I have a vision or an idea in my mind about how that thing will manifest. It's not necessarily that I want it to manifest in that way, although I might do, but it's just an assumption I make, I guess. But if I fixate too much on that assumption of the way something will manifest, I might miss that the thing actually happens because I've expected it to happen in a different way. So I might have talked before about the Magical Cash Book by the Gallery of Magic. I've done a few workings asking for a specific amount of money. The money has not manifested in the way that I expected. But if I hadn't been open to that, then I might have missed it. And I nearly did. When the money actually came through in this particular way, it took me a few seconds to actually realise, it's happened. It's just trying to not allow our desire or our attachment to make our vision for the outcome, make our assumption of how that will manifest to tunnel vision, so that you can be aware of the different ways that that might come about. The next thing I reflected on was trusting. This happened when I was working through the Financial Transformation book by Damon Brand. And if you haven't seen my video on what actually happened, check out the link in the description. But it was interesting because I had a bit of a break in the middle of that book because I had to go into hospital for cancer treatment. But when I returned to carry on with the rituals, I don't know what made me do this. I remember saying to myself, I don't know what is going to come out of doing this, but I'm going to trust that whatever happens, it's meant to be this way. Whatever happens will be what the cosmos wants. I just let go of any particular outcome at that point. And perhaps that was to do with the place I was in mentally, because your sense of control when you get a diagnosis like that is just like, I'm not in control of my life. I thought I was in control of far more than what I am. And so I think in that frame of mind, point, I just let go of any need to control what was going to happen. And I put my trust in the entities that were being evoked in that work. And I'm not saying we shouldn't have outcomes or goals, but I think if we maybe can let go and put our trust in the cosmos to deliver those goals in the way that the cosmos sees fit, or the way that the cosmos can, then maybe we would feel a bit easier about it. We could relax about it. But the harder or the tighter we cling on to certain outcomes or certain ways that those things, quote unquote, should manifest, maybe that creates some resistance. One of the other things is that attachment and desire can affect our actions. Clinging might stop us from taking action altogether. It might paralyze us. But on the other hand, it might lead us to do things that are not helpful for the magical process. If we grasp too tightly, we might do workings that are not appropriate or that are beyond our scope of competence. Attachment and desire, for me, are very emotional states. It's very rare that appropriate actions come when we're emotional. So when we can step away from the attachment and the desire and the emotion that is attached to the thing that we want, and we can be more objective about the thing we want, then we can make decisions that are much more in alignment with what is possible, with what is right for us, with what is within the power of the cosmos to do something with. We can see things more clearly. We can see what is possible when we're not in a really strong emotional state. And so coming back to my tarot clear out, I was very aware that there were lots of strong emotions going on when I was looking through each deck and then trying to put it in the bag and feeling very resistant to that. I realised that one of the attachments I have with those decks, they feed into my identity. Somehow perhaps I feel the artwork or the design says something about me, and therefore maybe me letting go of these decks is almost like rejecting or letting go a part of my identity. So if we can be aware of these attachments within our magical practice as well, it can help us to get clearer about why we're doing the workings that we're doing, what we want from them, and enable us to take actions that align with that, so that we're not getting in our own way and we're not getting in the way of the cosmos. Let me know in the comments if you've noticed attachments and desires getting in the way of your magic and how they've got in the way of your magic. I would love to hear from you. Take good care of yourselves, be well, and I will speak to you again soon.